Going terribly fast.
You have to tell it to Alan Bennett, don't you? Well, there you are. Now we're off to Ireland, where the policemen are called... Guards. Garda, exactly. Now, did you hear about the Irish policeman who tried to arrest a Polish driving licence?
No.
Do you know the story? You do.
Well, I
you
sort
might.
of know. I sort of. It was... Someone was done for speeding or something.
Yeah.
Is that right? In lots of different parts of Ireland.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He had 50 offences against him. He was fast becoming the most wanted motorist in Ireland. Bravo Jazda. He's a master criminal because he had different driving licences that had different addresses on. So this Bravo Jazda had all these.
Goodness knows what he was up to, apart from the driving offences.
Exactly. That was what everyone was puzzled by. They really wanted him. But it turned out one Garda member said, I think, I may be wrong, but Prawo jazdy is the Polish for driving licence. And red faces all round at Garda headquarters. There it is, Prawo jazdy. The fact they said permis de conduire above it might have been a hint, but there we are.
Are they still looking for his brother, Rzec Policja Polska?
But on the subject of driving licence, guess who had the first driving licence in the world?
The Queen.
No, oddly enough, you couldn't be wronger, because the Queen has...
No driving
driving licence. She's the only person in Britain who doesn't have a driving licence, yet who drives.
She...
Or who, I mean, there may be illegal ones, obviously. The only one who legally has no need for a driving licence.
So what does she show him at Blockbusters to prove her address and that?
A £20 note. That would do it. Yeah. Well, no, but the first ever driving licence, not surprisingly perhaps, who invented the motor car?
Mr. Benz.
Mr. Benz, Carl Benz. Carl Benz as in Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, exactly.
He just made one for himself.
Well, no, the citizens of Man...
I need a licence. A dangerous machine. I need a licence to drive. Now I can drive. Driving licence number 1. 0001.
I bet the first thing he did when he got on the road was stop the next bloke and go, there's your licence.
Oh, dear.
I will issue it as a licence. 5 marks. 0002. Good day to you. Where's your licence? I will issue it with a licence. 5 marks. 0003.
I don't know, he kept making the cars.
Yeah, he's so busy. The authorising body was called the Dampfkessel-Überwachungsverein, which means the Steam Boiler Supervision Association, which granted the first licences, in the mandatory ones in Prussia.
The SSA.
Yeah. Until the 14th of May, 2002, women in Lithuania...
He was still doing it. 1 billion!
5 euros.
Where's your licence?
No, in Lithuania in that year, women had to undergo a certain test in order to get a licence. What do you think that test was?
In where? Lithuania?
Yes, Lithuania, yes.
Smear test?
Well, yes, a gynecological examination.
Joking.
No. I don't know. There was one man who ran the entire office. He may... It's rather bizarre. The Chinese have multiple choice driving test questions, 100 of them. One of them includes is, if you come across a road accident victim whose intestines are lying on the road, should you pick them up and push them back in? Is the answer yes or no?
I should think you don't push them back in.
You don't, you're right. You would not get your licence.
I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
Isn't there that weird thing in the Cultural Revolution in China whereby traffic lights, you know, here are green for go and red for stop.
Yeah.
But they thought during the Cultural Revolution that was incorrect and that red should mean go. Because, you know, sort of culturally, communism and all the rest of it.
Oh, right.
But they failed to change all the traffic lights. So some traffic lights green was go and some red was go. And they just had thousands of accidents. And then they had to sort of change it back.
Wow. Hence the probability of there being intestines lying on the road.
Yeah.
So
Probably where it came from in the first place.
It's a practical
No, they're not
question.
actually green, though, are they? They're kind of blue.
Yes, they can be, can't they?
Because red and green is a very, very common colour blindness. So when they first did red and green, it was a disaster for some people. Just carried straight on.
Yeah, and because they couldn't tell which light, whether it was the top or the bottom.
No, they could. So the green.
If I see a black and white film, I can tell which light's on, can't you?
Yes, but not in the dark, Stephen. Sometimes you
are
relying on the colour. Let's face it. Usually.
You're right. I'm sorry. That's fair.
Can we not argue because that is what the terrorists want?
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, voice of sanity.
But
Let's
then
hope...
I did hear a character in a film once say, "Don't look at the lights. The lights never hit anyone." So that's quite a good motto for driving.
It is.
This is what I will use. Not to look at the lights. The lights never hit anyone.
Ausgezeichnet. So, now we're motoring along nicely here, so can you tell me what travels from Land's End to John O'Groats every year at about 1/3 of a mile per hour, but it slows down a bit on hills?
Does it specifically go from there to there, or is it just a north-south?
It actually goes from the south to the north, but it includes going from Land's
Is
End.
it a sort of tectonic wave or
it's
something?
not a tectonic
Weird.
wave.
I don't know if they exist. I just made that up.
No, it's something sort of slightly more abstract. It's a phenomenon, rather, which you were sort of getting.
Oh, is it?
Dress sense. If we're talking about moving from the south to the north.
Oh, no, hold on.
The Gulf Stream or something? Does it is it a windy thing?
Seasonal. It is a season.
Spring.
Spring is the answer.
Spring.
Spring takes 8 weeks to get from the very south coast all the way up to the very north and up to the Orkneys.
Well, what's the definition of spring?
Well, there is a phenotype analysis you can do of particular common plants blooming. Anyone who lives, say, in the Midlands and occasionally goes to London will say, oh, my God, they've already got their daffodils out, or we haven't yet. Or they'll go north and say, oh, they haven't got their tulips yet. And it's very noticeable.
Sort of bastard.
Yeah?
So the bloke, when the weatherman's on Radio 4 and he goes, hello, you might like to make note that it's the first day of spring today. No, it's not! I think you'll find I'm still freezing here.
8 miles a day it does, spring. Is that what we're saying?
I'm saying it takes about 8 weeks to get from John O'Groats, and someone's calculated that as being about 1/3 of a mile per hour.
You could walk and just beat spring.
Yeah.
It's a weird thought. That's very weird, isn't
If you timed it with a daffodil, you could walk at exactly the right speed.
Then
You could
open
go...
it. Oh, no.
And you'd be rather beautiful. I'm in touch with my feminine side.
You're responding to your handwriting beautifully. Well, it's the phenological observations, as they call them, of the various different things that trigger spring. It's a rather wonderful thought, isn't it? Spring moving up like that. Why do birds fly south in the winter?
I thought you were going to sing close to you.
Because it's too far to walk. No, but it's...
You're going because it's warmer, presumably, aren't you?
But what's the advantage of the warmth?
Well, you feel nicer. Better on your feathers. There's nothing like the sun on your feathers.
It's the insects. The insects in the north, in the frozen earth, you can't get at them, or they've died anyway and they're in a sort of dormant state and they're not available. The food for the birds is not there. So it is food. Spring travels north through Britain at about 1/3 of a mile per hour, but arrives 2 days later for every 100 foot of elevation. What's the point of those machines?
That's an eternally filling glass in the middle, never emptying.
Yes.
Oh, perpetual motion.
Oh, points to the man, absolutely. Yeah. They're all perpetual motion machines, or at least attempts to design perpetual motion machine. Well, what is a perpetual motion machine?
One that never stops.
But,
one that is in motion in perpetuity, Stephen.
Yes.
The answer is the question.
No, but there's more, slightly more to it than that.
With a view to...
There must be no input of energy.
Oh, it's no energy in, but we should be able to get energy out.
You get energy out because it's moving. And, of course, it transgresses what? What law?
Law of thermodynamics.
The first and second laws of thermodynamics. And there's a Simpson episode where Lisa builds a perpetual motion machine. Homer says, in this house we obey the laws of thermodynamics. It's not line. But no, the point is they can never work. Leonardo actually did drawings of attempted perpetual motion machines, but he realised being...
No, he's just drawn a chocolate orange from the top.
Oh, yes.
How boring have you got to be if you draw a diagram of how you take a chocolate orange apart?
Well, no,
he invented a lot of things. I didn't know he invented that.
And he did write in his notebook, "O ye seekers after perpetual motion, how many vain chimeras have you pursued? Go and take your place with the alchemists." So he spotted quite early on that it was never going to work. Sadly, our university